Before chains, before slave ships, before the lie that Africa had no history, Africa was already old. Old with wisdom, old with cities, old with knowledge. For centuries, we've been told a single story, that Africa was backwards, uncivilized and waiting to be saved. But that story was not born from truth, it was born from convenience. Because if Africa was already advanced, then slavery was not a mission. It was a crime. Today we're going back to Africa before slavery, to uncover universities, medicine, architecture, and global trade networks that rivaled the rest of the world. This is the history that was buried long before European ships touched African shores. Africa was already connected to the global economy. Salt, ivory, leather, and books. These were not small trades, they were industrial scale, operations controlled by African merchants. In East Africa, Swahili city-states like Kilwa and Mombasa traded with Arabia, India, Persia, and even China. African ships sailed the Indian Ocean centuries before Europeans dared to. Africa was not isolated. It was essential. Gold from West Africa powered the economies of Europe and the Middle East. Without Africa's resources, much of the ancient world would have stalled. Meet Mansa Musa, Emperor of Mali. In the 1300s, he was so wealthy that historians still consider him the richest human being to ever live. When Mansa Musa traveled to Mecca, his caravan included tens of thousands of people and so much gold that he accidentally caused inflation in Egypt. European maps of the time didn't label Africa as unknown. They labeled it as gold-rich, with Mansa Musa drawn sitting on a throne, holding a nugget of gold. Africa wasn't poor. The world came to Africa. When people talk about ancient education, they often mention Oxford or Paris. But centuries before those institutions existed, Africa already had universities. In Mali stood Timbuktu, home to the University of Sankore. Students studied mathematics, astronomy, law, medicine, philosophy, and history. Professors were paid in gold, and books were more valuable than currency. Over 700,000 ancient manuscripts still exist today, proving that Africa was writing, debating, and preserving knowledge while much of Europe was still struggling through the Dark Ages. Africa didn't lack education. Africa was a teacher.